Hello, and thank you for viewing our Nurse for 40 video presentation. This presentation will look at health-related issues within Brazil, focusing on the Guarani, Brazil's largest indigenous group. To begin, I'll provide an overview of Brazil's geography. Brazil is officially called the Federal Republic of Brazil. It is the largest country in South America and the fifth largest in the world. Its eastern coast sits along the Atlantic Ocean, while its west border comes in contact with almost every country in South America. It has a lot of landscapes within its borders, including tropical forests, plateaus, low mountains, and rainforest. The country is further divided into 5 regions or states. And now to Leah.
Before being colonized by the Portuguese in the 1500s, there were over hundreds of ethnic groups. The Guarani originated from Paraguay and are now scattered amongst villages in southern Brazil. When settlers and colonizers arrived, they took it upon themselves to dictate the distribution of the wealthy lands Guarani people inhabited. Although in 1822, Brazil gained their independence, this did not grant the Guarani with freedom, despite the constitution stating the rights of Guarani people and their land. Brazil started off as a constitutional monarchy, changed into a two-part government system, and then began democracy in 1954. Fast forwarding to 1960, the government instituted aggressive measures to develop the remote regions of Brazil and promote urbanization of the country. This involved marginalizing the Guarani onto smaller reservations and taking over their land for the production of livestock and agriculture. Guarani religion is based on their close relationship to their land, and effects of colonization still have devastating effects on their people today. During the economical miracle period, 70% of the country had become urbanized, which contributed to the assimilation of Guarani land. It wasn't until 1995 that Cardoso's presidency aimed to revise the constitution and focus on the economical state and recognize social security. And now to Danielle.
Has a population of over 205 million residents with approximately 51,000 Guarani indigenous people and a population density of 20.5 inhabitants per square kilometer. The main language of Brazil is Portuguese. Brazil was the net recipient of immigration, and up until the mid-19th century, many African slaves were sent there. Brazil has a high literacy rate, at over 92% of the population being able to read and write. But there's not a lot of information regarding Guarani literacy. What we do know is the universities in Brazil allocate seats for the indigenous citizens, but in 2008, only 5,000 indigenous students attended university. That's 1% of the national university student body. In terms of economy, Brazil is in the upper middle income country, with their GDP amounting to over 3 trillion. Their total health expenditure is over 8%. Brazil is a large export economy and the 32nd most complex economy according to the ECI. Their main exports include oilseeds, meat, mineral, and foods. To maintain their agriculture, a lot of the Guarani's land was taken from them in a forceful and violent manner, often resulting in death. Off to you, Hannah.
In the 1980s, the Brazilian healthcare system shifted to one that is universal, known as the Unified Health System, which took a primary care approach and was funded with tax money. The education of health workers in Brazil is comparable to that in Canada. Individual municipalities have a lot of power in their health system, and federal regulatory bodies exist to govern that system. Despite the health system reform, it is reported that Indigenous health services are inadequate at this time.
For an in-depth perspective, we will look at health statistics for both the general and Guarani populations. This chart depicts the life expectancy, birth rate, and mortality rate of both groups. As you can see, the Guarani have a much lower life expectancy and increased child mortality. The top 10 causes of mortality in Brazil are largely due to non-communicable diseases such as heart disease and diabetes. Respiratory infections and vector-borne illnesses such as Zika are also a concern. The top causes of mortality within the Guarani population also include suicide and violence. Exploitation for manual labor within sugarcane factories is also a challenge, which results in food insecurity and malnutrition in the Guarani population. And now to Vivian.
The major health challenges faced by children in Brazil are injuries, respiratory and viral infections. In the Guarani, respiratory diseases are the most common cause of death, half of which are preventable. Malnutrition is also a serious problem. While the overall life expectancy has increased in Brazil, suicide has increased in Guarani communities. A report done by CDC found that suicide rates among the Guarani was 19 times higher than the national rate. An ethnographic study was conducted among participants in the Guarani community, and they found that youth had higher rates of suicide. They linked this to colonization, rapid social culture change, disturbance in traditional social life, and the progressive dismantling of extended family structures. A Guarani anthropologist and a community leader estimated that 1,000 mostly young Guarani have killed themselves in the last 10 years throughout Brazil. These studies, using an ethnic perspective, found that youth perceive themselves as marginalized from mainstream society and their own communities, resulting in a sense of social isolation.
Brazil is now in a transition phase where they are faced with a double burden of health challenges, as it has characteristics of both a developed and a developing country. Some of their citizens, such as the Guarani, are affected by infectious diseases, while others are living long enough to develop non-communicable diseases and conditions. Brazil may strengthen their health system by acknowledging the social determinants of health, educating their women, growing the current primary healthcare approach, providing catered care to each geographical region, and creating and maintaining disease-specific programs.